little sister told me that the next time I publish a video, I should be sure to apologize for my absence. So I do apologize for not posting last week. My final exams were killing me. In today's video, we will be making some bagels. I use instant yeast, which typically doesn't need to bloom, but I like to bloom it sometimes for whatever reason. So I'm going in with 2 tablespoons of honey. I'm then going to add water, dissolve the honey, and then add the yeast and allow that to sit for 3 to 5 minutes so that the yeast can bloom. You also don't need to use honey. You can use granulated sugar or brown sugar if you wish. I just decided that I wanted to use honey as a natural sweetener rather than sugar. Be sure to mix the yeast into the honey solution because it's the sugars from the honey that is going to feed the yeast and cause it to bloom and puff up and bubble and everything like that. We are going to incorporate salt and flour. Then we're going to whisk the yeast mixture together, incorporate that, and start to form our dough. Gently knead to ensure that all the flour is hydrated and you don't have any dry spots. You're going to incorporate as best as possible before you turn the dough out and begin kneading onto your work surface. We're now going to knead until our wrists hurt. The dough is very soft, so if your dough feels soft, that's how it's supposed to feel. And we're just going to knead. Continue to flour your work surface if your dough is sticking to your hands excessively. If not, just knead it until it forms and you can poke it and see it spring back. We're then going to place our dough ball into a greased container, cover it, and allow it to rise for an hour and a half. It's supposed to double in size, and once it does, it looks like this. We're going to punch down, which is releasing all of the gases that the dough formed. So just deflate the dough, punch it down, get rid of all of the gas, turn it out, and then we are going to move on. The dough is very stretchy and elastic, and that is very good. We're going to divide our dough, and I got 8 pieces. If you want your bagels bigger or smaller, you'll divide it into less portions. So just continue cutting and see if you like the size and everything. So what we're going to do now is pre-form our bagels, and what we're trying to do is just form some balls. And what you're doing is tucking the sides on each other before I flip it. So what I'm doing is tucking each side and then trying to form a ball. Once I have successfully formed a ball, I use my thumb and my pinky to push the dough against itself. So with a portion of the dough, what we're going to do is tuck the dough in on itself, and this is going to form a rough ball. And once you've gotten that, you're going to flip it over, and I use my thumb and my pinky. Again, you can see that I'm pushing my hands around so that the underside of my ball remains tight. So use your thumb and your pinky, and the friction or the traction from your work surface is going to tighten the underside of the dough. We're going to cover those and allow them to proof, and once they have, they should look like this. They should have doubled or increased in size. This proofing meant that there is more gas in our dough, and what we're going to do is to just roll it out into a log. you're going to ensure that the ends of the dough are thinner because we're going to overlap. Once you've gotten a desired length or size, you're going to overlap them, stick your hand through and seal that together. If you find that one side is bulkier than one, you can always roll it again. Don't worry about the size of the hole. Because of the elasticity in the dough, it is going to contract. Once again, roll the dough, ensuring that the ends are tapered. Once you have gotten to a desired length, you're going to overlap the tapered ends and seal it with your hands. The hole in the dough is going to contract, so do not worry about the size or how big it seems in that moment. You can see right here that it's getting smaller. Once you have completed all your bagels, you're going to set them aside to proof for an additional 10 to 15 minutes. This is to ensure that they develop enough gases so that they'll be able to float. So this is my first float test, and as you can see, they did not float, which meant that they need to rest a bit more. Second time around, they floated. So if you try and you find that your bagels did not float, just allow them to sit for a bit more. Before we can bake our bagels, we need to boil them or poach them. So to some boiling water, we're going to add baking soda, salt, and molasses. If you do not like the flavor of molasses, you can either use less or omit it altogether. Now we are getting to work. So you're going to boil the bagel on each side for a minute to a minute and a half. Depending on how chewy you like your bagel, you increase the time. If you don't want a very chewy bagel, I recommend that you don't make it to a minute. So I boiled mine on each side for a minute and a half. So here I am just placing them in the pot. Don't worry about the misshapeness of them. They'll be fine. Once that time is up, you flip it gently. Try to flip it and allow it to boil on the other side for a minute to a minute and a half. Repeat that with the rest of your bagels until you're through. We're almost there. So you're going to be sure to grease your parchment paper so that your bagels do not stick. After that, we're going to coat them with some egg wash and whatever toppings that you like. If you have sesame seeds, that's good. If you have everything bagel seasoning, that's even better. So you're just going to coat each bagel with a generous amount of egg wash and apply some sesame seeds or whatever else you like. If you don't have any of those, having it with just the egg wash is perfectly fine. After this, we're going to place them in the oven and allow them to bake from anywhere to 15 to 20 minutes or until they are golden brown or any brown that you like. And here we have our bagels to be enjoyed with anything that you like, a little jam, a little jelly, a little cream cheese, or you can opt to make a breakfast sandwich like I did the next morning, which was really good. So all I did was toasted the bagels and made some eggs and plantain and sausage. It was amazing. And this brings us to the end of our video. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like and leave a comment. Also share with a friend.